welcome to this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection. I'm your co-host, Jimmy Qualls, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Tate Mathews. Tate, it's in the air, it's electric. Football season is back. We could not wait to get back to this point in time. Man, I'm telling you, this week's going to be awesome. We got the Rivals Weeks begin this week with the Battle of 840, the Battle of Franklin. We got so many good games to talk about. What about it?
I'm excited. It's hard to believe it's already here. I guess Ravenwood will start us off Thursday night. Friday, everybody's playing football time in Tennessee. And I'm excited. I think we got a lot of good teams this year in the WCS Sports Conference.
Absolutely. Well, we've already started with golf. Golf's already underway. Volleyball begins this week as well. Football, we're going to be in full swing by Friday night. But let's talk about Thursday night. Thursday night, Ravenwood 14-1 last year. As we all well know, get into the championship game against Maryville, lost by 1 in double overtime. Only high school game in the mid-state against Siegel. What do we know about Siegel, Tate?
Well, you can't really go by their record. Obviously, last year they played up there in the Region 7 AAA in the Rutherford County District, 3-7. They also, I think, another one of their losses was to McCauley, one of the toughest schedules in the state, up there with Brentwood. So don't take the 3-7 record and think this is a cupcake. It's not. They know each other very well. They're a very high-energy, high-octane offense. They've got their quarterback back in Jordan Middleton. If you like the no-huddle, fast pace, get as many snaps in as you can offense, Siegel's the one for you. So they're better. They're a year older. They got a really good tailback in Greedy House. Very good tailback. Might be, outside of Tyrell Dodson, the best running back Ravenwood sees all year. So they're a much improved team from last year. I think Ravenwood is a better team, but Siegel's a good team. Ought to be a great atmosphere.
Coach Will Helster bringing his undefeated streak into this year, has not lost a regular season game. Siegel, like you said, coming in, they've been counting down the days. You watch them on Twitter all the time. They have this countdown going on. So don't think that everywhere Ravenwood goes this year, the target is on their back.
Oh, yeah. And Siegel's got it. This will be fun. Siegel's got a great student fan section. Obviously, we know about the Raptor Nation. They'll travel well. Like you said, it's the only game in town, so I think we'll see kids and coaches and fans from the other WCS schools there. This ought to be a very great atmosphere to kick off the football season.
Well, they better get there early because when you come in up into the nest, G2 Bar is back, bigger, better than ever, always. This one will be I've agreed with you. This ought to be a really, really good game. Siegel's going to bring in that taste of something that we probably are not used to and haven't seen, like you said. But once again, Ravenwood returning their defense, looking really good. Now, offensively, lost a ton. Cole Brown, starting quarterback, going to UTC. Of course, I mean, you know, Van Jefferson out on the edges with Austin Percy. Backfield of Chris Rowland. Younger brother coming back, had 5 carries the other night for 200 yards in a scrimmage. We all know that scrimmages may be fool's gold. At the same time, their backfield looks very young but very explosive.
Yeah, it is. That's the difference. You know, Seth Juice, he was a guy who's going to get you 3-4 yards, and if you were tired in the fourth quarter, he was going to get 8 or 9. And just keep pounding you with him. Younger brother Chris, he's back. He's a year older. Got to remember, he was just a junior last year. He is the guy, and this is against anybody. Independence, Brentwood Academy, the Independence game, they can run. First play of the game, 70 yards. So Chris is a guy. They're going to move him around a lot. You're not always going to see him at running back. You'll see him out at wide receiver. You'll see him in the slot. He's a guy that Coach Hester knows if they can get a seam, he can go the distance at any point in time. And also, don't forget about, we saw him up close and personal last year at game day, the junior Connor Jeffries. He's bigger, stronger. That kid can fly. So they got a couple of guys who can go. Early on, not really sure who is going to take the lead in the wide receiving core, but you know they're going to find somebody. They've got some talented kids. They're just young and inexperienced.
Well, that brings Andrew Rapay to the center of what we're talking about as a quarterback. Not his first starts ever. I mean, he has been in some packages, been in some big games, been in the Maryville game actually. When they changed the packages up. Brings that Tebow style, left-handed big kid, can throw, can run, toughness to that position.
Yeah, he does, and that's what Coach Hester likes about him. He's tough, he's a competitor, and he's a leader. So he's not going to throw the ball like Cole did last year, but he does some other things very well, but most importantly, he's a competitor.
Well, let's talk real quick. New Region 3, 6A football, Franklin, Ravenwood both fall in that classification on the 6A level. Super 32 as it's being called. Right. Everybody gets in the playoffs, which is a good thing. Mount Juliet 5-6 last year. Franklin 8-3, as we well know, with the Centennial battles back and forth. Also were in the playoffs, finished at 8-3. McGavick 9-3, had a little playoff run there. Lebanon 0-10, Overton 6-5, made it to the playoffs last year. Wilson Central 4-6, Antioch 3-7. Franklin, Ravenwood, hiccups in that right there. Who comes out as the favorite? I personally think right now coming out, Ravenwood probably won. Franklin losing a lot, could be in the middle of the bunch, maybe move up the ladder as it goes. Possibly McGavick moving in there in that second, third spot.
Yeah, I think you're right. Ravenwood would have to be the favorite, and I think they will. They'll take, as long as they stay healthy, they'll take care of business in that. They still got, remember, all those kids they lost, they've got, I think, 39, 40 seniors this year. If it were me, my number 2 guy would probably be Mount Juliet. That once again, 5-6, they lost in the playoffs to get them that losing season. They were about 500. They're better. Wait till you see them. I don't know who the first game we'll see Mount Juliet against. They're huge. It's the biggest offensive line we'll see in the sports conference all year long. Franklin, here's the great thing about this Super 32. Coach Webb knows they're in the playoffs, so he's got time to get better and find his younger guys that are going to have to step up and work on some things. If they lose some early games, it's not that they want to win them all, but it's not the end of the world because they know they're going to get in the playoffs. I think Franklin finishes in the top half.
So we're going to look real quick before we move on. Ravenwood's schedule for the year. Week 1, obviously, as we talked about on Thursday night, Siegel. And then they play Brentwood at home. Battle of the Woods, week 2, game day. Should be epic.
Yes. Phenomenal
Phenomenal atmosphere that will make. Mount Juliet at home. So you start off with 3 good games at home. Mount Juliet, obviously, being that one of the toughest one out of that new region that we're talking about. Playing them at home should be an advantage. Battle of the Woods, anything goes, coin flip, any given night could happen. Then they travel week 4, September 11th at Centennial. I mean, that game right there could be the game of the year for both programs.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. A lot of talented players going to be on the field, and there's so many different storylines that go in with the Ravenwood Centennial game. So you're right. That's going to be a showdown. That's going to be those first 3. They can't overlook any of those 3. But that's the big one early on. And I don't know. We'll have to see how these first 3 weeks go to see. I don't really know who would be favored right now.
Then they go to Franklin. At home against McGavick, at Lebanon, at home against Overton, and finish on the road the last 2 games at Wilson Central Antioch. I'm telling you, G2 Bar, watch them. They're looking poised, ready to go, try to make a second run into that state championship game, see if they can't get over the hump this year in 6A football. Moving down, Region 7, 5A. We have our out of the Big 6, we're now split up. 4 of the Big 6 teams now are on the 5A level. 2 go north, 2 go south. Let's talk about the northern teams first. In Region 7, 5A, Dixon, Clarksville Northeast, West Creek, Clarksville High School, Brentwood, Rossview, Henry County, and Centennial. Now, you look at that immediately, eye test right now, what we know with Centennial, you think Centennial's a clear-cut favorite. However, had a lot of teams right there in the playoffs last year. One that sticks out to me, Tate, Rossview 8-4. They get beat in the second round to Whitehaven last year, 14-7. Sticks out to me. I don't know how many of those kids are returning, but that's a little bit of a question mark because we saw Whitehaven and what they did last year against Ravenwood.
Yeah, Rossview was a very good football team last year. Somebody you didn't want to see come playoff time. They did lose a lot of those guys. So I don't really know how much they have coming back. Rossview's traditionally not a top program, but Coach Lambert up there doing a good job. He's made them better. They lose a lot of those kids. The one that I think you need to watch out for is Henry County. 2 or 3 state championships in the last 5 years. The daddy, James Counts Sr., has retired. He's turned it over to his son, James Counts Jr. He's been with them a long time. So Henry County is, I would think right now, you got to look at that district. Henry County and Centennial got to be the 2. Some people pick Henry County. I'll probably go with Centennial, but that's going to be a great game. And they're a tough program, just like Centennial. That's if they're both healthy come that time of year, that's going to be a fun one.
I agree. Henry County 10-3 last year, lost in the quarters to Ridgeway. Now, Ridgeway was obviously a good team, but like you said, 2 or 3 state championships the last 5 years, and that heritage goes deeper than that. You go even further back, Henry County was one of the early dynasties in high school football here in the state. But Dixon 2-8 last year, missing the playoffs. Northeast 2-8 as well, missing the playoffs. West Creek 4-6. Clarksville High 5-6, making the playoffs. Brentwood 2-4. Rossview 8-4. Henry County 10-3. Centennial 10-3. I agree with you. I think Centennial, Henry County, clear-cut favorites early. Question mark for us, be very interesting. Brentwood High School under the new helm of Ron Crawford. What happens there? The excitement up there is very high right now at Brentwood High School, but you still have to go out and play the games with those kids. We got the Croy kid coming back at quarterback. What do you think about Brentwood?
They're very young. They're going to have to feel their way out through this thing the first couple of games. Bad thing is their first 2 games, Independence and Ravenwood, man.
You're going to have to fill it out pretty quick.
Ooh, yeah. Boy, especially Independence, and I know we're going to talk about them, but that offense right now firing on all cylinders. So, but Coach Crawford, he's one of the best coaches in the state. Public, private, doesn't matter. You're right. He's brought back a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of excitement around the program. So they're going to be fine. The good thing about this region is, you've got 2 really, really good teams, Henry County and Centennial, that could possibly win the 5A state championship. The rest of them, Brentwood can be competitive with them, early on. So I think they'll be fine. He'll figure it out, but there are going to be some growing pains.
Yeah, like you said, Brentwood's going to open up at home against Independence. Now, Independence 6-5 last year, you can't worry about that record. Throw that record completely out the door because you've got Nate Johnson, who's a Purdue signee, coming back as a receiver. You've got Andrew Bunch at quarterback. You've got so many pieces of the puzzle there. It's going to be like a track meet. If Coach Blake can figure out a little bit of defensive things, I know if he was sitting here right now, he'd be laughing at me because I couldn't tell you what they are, but if we were on basketball, we could. But if he can figure out just a little bit of things to get some stops on defense, Independence right now could be have a chance.
Oh, yeah, and even if they don't, they're going to score a lot of points. Get ready for it. I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but Andrew Bunch is going to throw for over 3,000 yards. He'd probably break 4,000. I just got a feeling in some of these games, kind of like Cole Brown last year, he was sitting over on the bench eating popcorn with Coach Hester in the 4th quarter. I think that's going to happen a lot to Andrew Bunch too. This offense is explosive. They're going to score a lot of points. If they can just hold people to 14, 17 points a game, I think then they'll go a long way.
Is it easy to say they're looking probably to average in the 30s plus points per game? Right now, preseason's been a great preseason for those guys. They've had some good scrimmages, put up a lot of points. Be very interesting coming down the stretch. Now, back to Brentwood. Indy did win 35-14 last year. Brentwood, in their new region, going to be at home against Indy. And then, like you said earlier, on the road to the Nest at Battle of the Woods against Ravenwood. And then away at Rossview. I see that as a win for those guys going into the Montgomery County sector there. Play at home against Franklin. And then play at home against Dixon County for homecoming. Then they go back to the Montgomery County, Clarksville Northeast, at West Creek, back home against Centennial, and then at Henry County, and then at Clarksville. Now, that 2 of those last 3 games, they start strong, they finish strong. In the middle, they have some wins mixed in. It'll be very interesting to see where Brentwood plays, how their record plays out.
Yep. The 2 non-district games didn't really help him, but again, what he's looking at is he's not looking to, hey, we're first-round playoff kind of guys. He's looking to build that program back up to where it's a championship contending program, and that's what he'll do.
Absolutely. And then on the flip side of the coin, we're talking about Independence, moving into the Independence on the southern portion of that Region 5A, 5A classification. Lincoln County, Summit, Stewart's Creek, Shelbyville, Columbia, Franklin County, and Laverne. Like you said, Independence is going to be a high-octane, high-powered offense. I mean, it's going to be a track meet every game. I think Shelbyville threw a lot last year, looking to throw the ball a lot, but some of these teams, they may be in for a rude awakening.
Oh, yeah. Shelbyville, very athletic. You're going to see them. They'll probably be the closest thing to Independence offensive look-wise in that district. Lincoln County, Don Thomas, been there a long time, great coach. Franklin County, they hadn't seen anything like this in a long time. They're going to have a hard time with Independence offense, not because they're not well coached. They just don't match up well with them. And Andrew Bunch, this is going to be his 3rd year as a starter now. That's a lot of ball games.
And he's, like we mentioned earlier, he's throwing out there to Nate Johnson, and it's just going to be fun to watch. When we come back from break, we're going to finish up with Independence Region 5, 5A football, talk a little bit about Old Sparty, and then get into the Battle of 840 and the Battle of Franklin. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to WCS Sports Connection. Tate, let's go right into it. Old Sparty.
Old Sparty.
Sparty's back. They're ready for that first ever home win. We're looking at their schedule real quick. Second week, Clarksville Northwest. I'm telling you, write it down right now. Creed, you got that? Old Sparty getting their first ever victory over Clarksville Northwest.
I hope you're right, man, and I think they will. Coach Coleman and his staff and the kids, they've been busting their tail this off season and during the summer, and they've had some good scrimmages, man. They've scrimmaged some good people, okay, Riverdale, Franklin, and the like. So I think they got a chance to do some really good things this year. If this moving down in 5A helped anybody, it really helped them. So you're right. I think they got a chance. Clarksville Northwest, they got to come down here. For some reason, we don't really like going up to Montgomery County. They don't really like coming down here. It's a long trip. I think they get the first home win. What a great accomplishment that would be for these kids, this staff. Miss Lamb, Sarah Lamb, who's been there since the beginning, now the principal. The summit, the Sparty party, they need this, and I think they're going to get it.
Well, I've been out to several of their preseason workouts, and early in the mornings, obviously trying to beat the heat. The kids are working hard, and a shout out to Chad Kirby and the job they've done on the sports side of things down there. I mean, the Summit Squad, as you well know, the Summit Squad, regardless of win or loss, one of the top student sections that we have here in the WCS Sports Conference.
They are. They're fun. They bring a lot of energy. They're very enthusiastic, and they got a great they're very creative in a lot of the things they do. They're fun.
Well, like you said, they're dropping down from 6A football to 5A, Region 5, 5A football. They will be in there in that southern portion with Indy, like we spoke of earlier, Lincoln County, Stewart's Creek, Shelbyville, Columbia, Franklin County, Laverne. I think there are some wins mixed in there. Not so sure about week one. They have to go to Spring Hill. Tylen Oden right now, one of the hottest commodities. Quarterback at Spring Hill. Had a lot of offers on the table right now. I think he signed early with Louisville. Looking very tough. Might be a tough matchup for them off week one. I would love to see Northwest week one at home, right, but they're going to Spring Hill. Never know.
Yeah, he's very athletic. They're very athletic. His little brother's on that team, too. He's going to be a top prospect, too. So, here's the deal. Coach Coleman, there's a reason why they're running the wing T, okay? They're trying to shorten the game, shorten the snaps. So what they've got to do, they got to be able to get out there and get some first downs, move the ball, hold on to the ball. Last year they had a game they were getting away to win, fumble, going in on the 10. Those kind of things can happen. They know that. But I tell you something that's been exciting, and this name is, you're going to be hearing a lot about this name later on in the year. But Ty Carter, John Carter's little brother, he's out there playing football, and he's had some explosive plays, man. So if they can not turn the ball over, shorten the game, shorten the snaps, and then Ty get loose, break some big plays here and there, you never know. They've got a chance. So, but yes, you're right. Week one, Tylen, Oden, Spring Hill, they're an underdog, but they got a chance.
Well, it's like you said, it can be either your best friend or your worst enemy. You ever get behind, the wing T is probably the worst offense to have. It's just like when you're going into basketball, you're running the four corners, you're trying to keep the game low and slow possessions, 2-minute possessions in a quarter. Football, you run the wing T. It's a controlled offense. Yes, you can have some explosive plays, but you're looking for those first downs, shorten the game up, keep the possession on your side. However, you ever fall behind, you have to get out of your rhythm just a little bit, maybe throw some passes that you don't want. So maybe they can control the tempo, strike early with the Carter brothers, man. How much are we going to talk about the Carter brothers this year? It won't start here because he might be the best point guard in the WCS Sports Conference with his brother, John Carter, who arguably could be the best basketball player in the conference this year.
Oh, yeah. And once again, we talk about it all the time. I'm a huge multi-sport guy. I'm glad Ty's out there. And I think, now he's glad he's out there. So he's going to make some plays. He's a heck of an athlete. Remember, he's just a sophomore.
Yep. Playing Spring Hill last year, 6-6, finished up, getting beat in the playoffs, losing to Pearl Cone 63-7, which a lot of people probably lost to Pearl Cone in the same kind of fashion. Yes. They did beat Summit last year 32-0. We went to that game, had a great opening drive and one of those deals where they fumbled and turned around and got behind the 8 ball and never could recover. But, new year, new attitudes with those guys. You never know what's going to happen. They may have a little confidence dropping down into the 5A football and see what happens. Go Old Sparty. Best of luck to Coach Coleman and those guys. Now let's move on into our Rivals Week. Battle of 840 as we're doing it this year. Game day will be there live. Page is hosting Fairview. Page finished up the year 6-5 last year. Got beat in the opening round by Hickson and Fairview 7-4 got beat by Westmoreland in the first round of the playoffs last year. If you remember, game day was at Fairview, our first ever game day, and Fairview arguably pulled off an upset over Page last year, 17-13.
They did. They're a smaller school, less students to pick from, but they're very close athletically, I think, talent-wise. Page, gosh, they just went through murderer's row last year with the injury bug, and I know that can happen to anybody, but they did. It just seemed like it just kept coming and coming. So again, to make it to the playoffs, I thought was a heck of an accomplishment by the Page Patriots. But they got banged up a little bit last year. Fairview with the huge win at home. You're right, it would be considered an upset. And if you like quarterbacks, this is a quarterback's dream, man. We got Hunter Zimmerman on one side, Michael Magochi on the other side. Both of them, I believe, are seniors. That's good for both those teams. You've got the guy that you need to be your leader is experienced, been in a lot of games. So this will be fun to watch. Injury bug hadn't hit yet for these two teams.
I'm going to tell you right now, write it down, Tate. Right now, Shane Panthal, new principal over at Page, he has been working feverishly. I mean, this thing is coming to a point where it's fixing to blow up at Page. They're getting ready all week. They're going to be practicing this. They're having their first ever pep rally under Mr. Panthal up there. Hunter Zimmerman, Michael Magochi at Page. This is going to be electric. This is a game that's kind of flying on the radar. We're trying to pump it up. Yeah. Battle of 840. First ever going to have a trophy pass back between the two. I'm telling you, this game's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's not flying under the radar at Page or Fairview, I can assure you of that. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere and a great game.
Well, Region 6 3A football, this is Fairview's, looking at Fairview's schedule. Fairview 7-4, like we said last year, did make the playoffs. Stewart County 2-8, Cheatham County 0-10, Sycamore 2-8, East Hickman 2-8, Camden 9-3 made it to the second round of the playoffs, as well as Harpeth 4-7 making it to the playoffs. That is their region. I'm looking at their schedule right now. If we go through Fairview's schedule, obviously they open up with the Battle of 840 at Page, go to Creekwood, Stewart County. I think both those are wins. Then they go to Waverly Central. We know that Waverly Central had the biggest turnaround probably last year that they've had in a long time. A lot of athletes looking to be on the up and up. Could be a tough one.
Could be, yeah. They've got a good staff now, and they're sharing athletes at Waverly, which is what you have to do if you're going to be successful. But they graduated a lot of guys, and I think Fairview was beat up come that time of year last year too. So you're right. It'll be a good game, but I think Fairview has the upper hand.
I think an interesting game is that following week. Hickman County. Hickman County has dropped down to 2A. They're thinking big things. Be interesting to see how that plays out for them, but they're thinking big things by stepping down to 2A that they're going to have a shot. I'm not sure they've looked at that roadmap of who they're going to have to go through on the 2A level, but Hickman County and Fairview always a natural rival, have been for that little county border there. Cheatham County at Cheatham County, Sycamore for homecoming at East Hickman, and then Camden for senior night, and then at Harpeth. Fairview looks there. I think that 7-3 pretty easily, maybe even 8-2 before this thing's over with.
I agree.
If it keeps everybody healthy.
That's right. And if they can beat Page, I don't think a 9-1 is out of the question.
Absolutely. Region 4, 4A is what Page is classification for those guys this year. Obviously, like we said, they open up with Fairview, but then they go to Lipscomb Academy, and then they go to Spring Hill. I think those are two tough road matches for Page right off the bat.
They are, without a doubt. Lipscomb Academy's gotten better. They got a very explosive running back. Many people remember 2 years ago the Lipscomb Academy Page game, 60-42. That was unbelievable. So when these two get together, it's fun. Tough two opening round games.
Then they go to Forest at Chapel Hill. I think that'll be a win. Lawrence County at home, BGA, Tullahoma, Giles County for a 4-game stint there at home. Giles County, I understand, according to the preseason talk right now, is not the Giles County past. I still have to see it to believe it.
Right.
But we'll see as the year goes along. Then they finish up at White House at a tough Marshall County. That'll be an interesting game to finish out the season for the Page Patriots.
Marshall County, the clear favorite in that region.
Still see them having going 7-3, maybe 8-2 there as well. It's kind of dependent upon the Fairview game, how that goes. Coach Rathbone, Magochi has to stay healthy. That is Region 4, 4A. Now, brings us to the clash. The Battle of Franklin, opening up Friday night. Franklin traveling to Centennial. Give us a little history of the Franklin Centennial in the last 3 games.
Well, you got to remember, Centennial had never beaten Franklin in school history till Brian Rector got there, okay? So there's been a long time coming. Last year, Centennial Franklin Week 10, Franklin gets the win. How do they get rewarded for that 8-2 season? They turn around and get Centennial again in the first round of the playoffs. Another shootout. Centennial wins. Obviously, Centennial moves on a couple more rounds, or one more round, ends up with Ravenwood. Now they draw each other week 1. So this will be the 3rd time in a row for Franklin that these two have played. That's a lot.
And
that's a lot.
It's for the Battle of the Helmet. They have a helmet that goes back and forth. This is the rubber match to win the best 2 out of 3 for the last 3. Very intriguing, very interesting the way this sets up. Centennial's got extremely high hopes. Franklin, on the other hand, did lose a bunch. You know, Joe Critchlow, their quarterback from last year, lost more pieces than just Joe. But, you know, the returning 39 seniors, like you said, but I'm not so sure that the feelings right now across the conference is that Franklin can even get remotely close back to where they were. Now, Coach Webb may think differently. Well, we're going to get our first opportunity to see them play against Centennial. But I think Centennial right now has their sights set on an enormous goal, and a goal that I think can be reached.
Oh, I think they can too. And it's kind of changed a little bit. Last year, Centennial were the people running the two quarterback system. Obviously, there was an unquestioned starter in Joe Critchlow at Franklin. This year, Blake Lavelle will be the quarterback for Centennial. Right now, Coach Webb planning on playing too. They've got Kyle Evans and Wes Patterson, who've both played well. Not a whole lot of experience out of either one of them. They both played well in the preseason. So it's funny how they've kind of swapped roles on that. And Centennial is a little more experienced. They're so athletic. And last year, the unquestioned probably best player in the conference was Van Jefferson. No doubt who it is this year, Tyrell Dotson. The kid, if you haven't seen him, he's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster. He is I hate to use the cliche term, beast. Tyrell Dotson's a beast.
Tyrell Dotson currently sitting as a number 10 inside linebacker nationally, according to a lot of polls there. Already signed with Texas A&M, committed to Texas A&M. Be interesting to see how he plays out. Now, real quick rundown of Franklin's schedule. At Centennial, of course, opening up, then play Riverdale at home, Overton at home, then travel to Brentwood, and then they play Ravenwood at home. There at Antioch, at Wilson Central, McGavick, and Mount Juliet coming to Franklin, and then finish up at Lebanon. It could be a tough. It's interesting. I think it's too early to try to decide how they're going to do, but it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, they're region games. They can win a bunch of them. They're non-region games, tough.
All right, it comes that time. I got last year, obviously, I did not pull it out. This year, I'm going to bring everything that I've got in my A game to make sure that I beat you in the Pick'ems. Pick'ems, week 1, are you ready? Ravenwood versus Siegel. Who do you have?
G2 Bar.
G2 Bar all the way. I can't disagree with you. Right now, he's still carrying his undefeated streak in the regular season. That will continue for another game. Brentwood versus Indy.
If I was going to hire a defense coordinator, it'd be Ron Crawford. But even he can't slow this passing game down week 1. Independence.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be a little closer than what you're giving it credit for, Tate. I think Brentwood's going to be there, but Andrew Bunch, Nate Johnson, Coach Blade, and track offense that he has, put your running shoes on. Brentwood can't catch up. Indy wins that game. Old Sparty at Spring Hill.
I love my man Brian Coleman. I got to go with Spring Hill.
Old Sparty right there. Old Sparty pulling off the upset. Everybody at Louisville is going to say, what just happened to our quarterback? Old Sparty right there. They're going to be calling on the Card Boys' door next, saying we need to get that kid up there. Old Sparty rolls. Page at Fairview, Battle of 840.
Page returns the favor. They're going to get them. Game day at their place this year, Page is going to return the favor.
I agree with you 100%. I don't think Fairview can hang right there because they're going to have Shane Panthal's going to have that place exploding. Page wins last. Battle of Franklin. Franklin at Centennial. Who do you have?
Cougar Nation.
The Cougar Nation rolls. I agree with you, Tate. That brings us to the end of the WCS Sports Connection. It's been a great. Can't wait to see you next week. I'm your co-host, Jimmy Qualls. This is my co-host, Tate Mathews. We'll see you next time.